Good morning, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us for our bi-weekly For the Record St. Albans Today show. With us, St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith. And an unexpected but certainly welcome guest this morning, Senator Corey Parent, the Director of Operations for St. Albans Town, a late sub for Brendan Deso, the Select Board Chair. Corey, thanks for jumping in.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, I think we all got a little shocked with how much snow we got this morning. And
yeah, three inches.
Yeah, Brendan had to clear some in his business, so I got a last-minute text to fill in. And I said, sure.
Thanks for jumping in. Tell us, while we've got you, tell us about, again, Director of Operations, new job for you for what, roughly the last month or so?
Yeah, I started the week of Thanksgiving. You know, it's a role.
No, more than that,
Ned Connell was in a director of administration role that really did focus solely on planning. With his departure from the town, they looked for something different, and so it's I do manage the planning, but I help our town manager Carrie Johnson out on a lot of various projects. And
so effectively, I mean, the kind of assistant town manager, effectively to some extent.
Yeah, it's effectively a number 2 role with the town.
Wow.
And so as I'm getting up to speed, taking on more and more responsibility each and every day, and just making sure that St. Albans Town, I think. I don't think we've always thought of us as the way we are, but we have a $1 billion grand list. We have projections to have the largest population. Swanton, St. Albans City, and us are kind of have that distinction now, but in 10 years probably have the largest population in the county. So there's a lot of work to do to prepare for that kind of growth over the next decade.
And of course, legislative session now officially underway, and again,
it is
remotely.
Yes, so it works perfect. It's I do that. I usually get into town hall a little earlier and stay a little later, and in between, we're kind of doing the legislative stuff in between right now. It's like today, we only got one committee meeting. We've got the afternoon off for the presidential inauguration, so I'll have a couple hours in Senate Ag and then be back to work.
Interesting. Of course, the governor in the news, caught some of his biweekly news conference yesterday, then noticed the news last night. Governor Mark Levine, the health commissioner, and I guess others quarantining with, apparently a contractor who was attending the last 2 press conferences testing positive for COVID-19.
Yeah, that's the news. I don't have much more information than what you guys have read in the news, but it's, I think it's precautionary. The governor's a pretty healthy guy, and, when you're in his role, like we said, we can do so much remote now that we can keep him protected and, work through it all.
Interesting. So I guess that's to say, come Friday, we will not see the governor at his biweekly news conference. You know who will?
I don't know. It might be, like Jason Gibbs or Secretary of Administration could fill in potentially, but we'll see. He might even do it remotely.
That's true. That's certainly a possibility. Mr. Mayor, how are things in the city? A new year, big day in the country. Got a new president jumping in a few hours. Not too much stuff going on. I mean, a lot of stuff going on. How's the city faring? An annual city meeting not too far away. And speaking of the legislature, I guess some flexibility with how town meetings will be held this year. But anything new for the city? It's all Australian ballot voting anyway. So still sticking with Tuesday, March 2nd.
Yeah, date hasn't changed at all. Yeah. I think our plan is if someone wants a ballot, we'll mail it to them. And then we'll open, as usual, for the in-person ballot.
So you'll do that on request? It's not like everybody in the city is going to get a ballot in the mail?
Yeah, no, I believe it's just on request.
Yeah, anyway, but still, folks like me, old people like me who still like to vote in person can still go down to City Hall.
Yep.
You all set with warnings and stuff? Any more work to be done with what's on the ballot?
No, I don't think so. We had a meeting a week ago Monday, and we approved the 4 items as the budget with a 2.5% increase.
Yeah.
The water tank up on Congress, Kingman Street, streetscape, and then the pool being the last one.
Speaking of the pool, a long letter that I'm sure you read. I stumbled on it just yesterday from one of your predecessors, Peter Delorier, just saying, I'm open to the pool issue, but there are a lot of questions I want answered. I can only assume you saw that letter.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday afternoon.
In case the former mayor happens to be watching, any quick answers you can give? You had a bunch of questions, but anything you want to say in response to that letter?
I think you had 6 items. Chad Spooner, the president of the council, was drafting a response.
Okay.
I think,
In fact, I have it in front of me here.
yeah, I don't think there's any quick answer to any of them.
Okay.
So Chad was drafting it and was sharing it with the city manager, so I think Peter will get a response. And I have no problem with Peter's letter. I mean, those are all questions that we
Yeah.
will need to answer before March 5th or 6th,
Yeah.
whatever the date is,
Yeah.
and address those moving forward. So it won't be the first time some of those questions come up, but will be, this in some ways gives us a little bit of a trial run so that we have, we're prepared to answer those same questions down the road, so.
I guess one of the questions, and it certainly is bound to come up, he's suggesting, a new pool might be a good idea, but maybe it makes more sense to renovate the old pool, and we've certainly talked about that before. You certainly don't see that as a way to go.
Well, I think some of the estimates that we had received on renovating, Peter had $1 million in there, but
Right.
it was well over that. It was
Okay.
it was $2 million at least to renovate the existing pool.
Yeah,
And the other issue with that was that we're at the mercy of sharing a school, well, two things. It doesn't give you the year-round approach,
yeah,
and you're at the mercy of utilizing the same parking lot as the city elementary school. So that limits your season. When I was the director, it used to be that we could not open the pool until school was out, and we had to
Okay.
close it before they started up.
Huh.
And as you know, the school year has gotten that much shorter in the sense that we used to go back to school after Labor Day. Now it's August 25th,
right.
and I think we've always gotten out around that June 19th, 12 to 19 timeframe. So
Yeah.
even though it would be a cheaper option, it doesn't give you the same year-round. I think that's what we've heard from a number of people is, if you're going to do it, let's have the year-round option and make the most of it. So
Yeah.
I think that's where the difference comes into play.
That's
And
right.
as I said, that Peter projected $1 million, but it was, first time we went through this a year ago, it came in, I believe it came in at $2 million.
Yeah, I thought when I saw the million figure, that sounded a little low to me
Yeah.
from what you had said before.
Yeah.
Corey, that might be worth going back to the town on that same issue. I suspect there's still some folks who are saying, hey, we have a great old town hall. Why aren't we fixing that up instead of building a new one? We've covered that ground before, but again,
Yeah.
money-wise, just
Well,
didn't-
it's not just the money, but, like, if you look at, we're on a third of an acre now. The septic issues.
you got a
we-
septic issue, of
We
course.
actually legally can't have that many more employees in the building with the septic issues, and so we don't have public water or sewer down there, and no place to put a new septic system in, and so create issues. I sit in an office that doesn't have heat. I have a plug-in heater. Kerry Johnson doesn't have heat, and so
Really?
there's just you'd have the cost, so it's actually cheaper. The cost is literally almost the same to renovate or to build new, and if we build new, where we're looking to build in the design we have, we can expand if needed to in the future. It's a building that can be there for the next 100 years for the town.
Yeah.
People forget this building wasn't necessarily built to be a town hall that we're in now. It was a school.
Oh, is that, it was
And
originally a school?
And so, the town's growing. I think when it was more small town, I think, it probably fit well, but it's time to look different. And I'll just mention a few changes to our town, way we're handling town meeting. We're going to decide tonight at a select board meeting, but we're looking to actually mail ballots to every voter.
Really?
Ann and I have been coming up with plans. She's been doing most of the work, and we're talking to Secretary of State and look at those costs. So that will be, we're working out just a few logistical issues with the school district, but town voters are likely to see their ballots get mailed out.
And we're still talking Tuesday, March 2nd for St.
Yep,
Albans Town.
Yep, no move there. So
People will
again,
still be able to vote in person if they
Yep.
want at Collins
Yep, nothing
Building?
will change. It'll be just like the November election. The
Okay.
ballots will, we're working on the timeline now, but, obviously all the questions have to be in by early next week. So we have a select board meeting tonight where those decisions will be made final.
Yeah.
I just, again, a difference in the two, so I don't want to confuse the voters.
Yeah.
So.
Just to jump on that, the tricky
Yeah.
part that we're finding is that we're also still dependent on the school and what they decide, and we haven't, I don't know about the town, but I don't think we've gotten any direction on what their plan is either, so it'll be interesting to see what they decide.
In terms of voting on the school budget, we're talking, or?
Right, yeah.
Oh, really? So that might possibly be,
It's always been a separate ballot,
Okay,
so,
right.
They need to come up with a plan as well.
and so it's possible that municipal side of government would have the annual city meeting March 2nd, and possibly if the school folks decide they might be later, that's possible apparently?
Yeah. And this is the exact issue I had with the bill in Montpelier to go to my other job.
Yeah.
Is I get flexibility, but it causes these issues of how select boards want to handle different things. I think we should have, the state's put the money forward. I think it should have been a mandatory vote by mail, to be honest with you.
Really?
For this year, yeah.
Interesting. LOT money, Tim, local option tax with the town's been getting for years, first quarter, and have you seen any figures yet?
No, from what I understand, there's a 1 quarter removed. So you wouldn't receive the money
No,
from
really.
October to December until April 1. So we don't know what that amount is yet. It'll be interesting to see for sure, but we don't know what the number is.
And you mentioned municipal budget up about 2.5%. Given all that's been happening in the last year, you're pretty comfortable with that small increase?
Yeah, I think when we first started with COVID and the pandemic, I think there was some 4% and 5% increases being floated, but the city staff and the council finance committee worked hard to address a lot of these issues. So yeah, I think it's always nice to be lower for sure, but the way the situation is, it is what it is. So last year we came in at 0%, and I think as I had mentioned in the past, our fear is what's going to be the education increase.
Sure. Which is typically about 3/4 of one's tax bill.
Right. So, and we take the heat for it, for the increase, yet we have no control of it. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that's gonna play a big piece of how the city's budget is viewed based on what the education budget comes in at.
Right. Corey, what about the town? What are you looking for?
So they're finalizing the budget tonight, the select board. We're gonna be flat mostly. The only real upward pressure we had is policing costs. It was prior to my time, so I was involved in decisions, but in the costs, but we're still gonna see an uptick there. It was a competitive bid between the city and the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
The town is making the transition to the sheriff's department, but it is an increase from what we've been paying in policing the last few years. And so I know the St. Albans town voters, are pretty conservative, and so I know the select board's doing their best to come in with the most reasonable budget they can.
Back to the town hall, there are two articles on that town meeting relating to the town hall, one specifically saying, will voters approve? Is there a price tag on there?
So we'll have the official price tag later this week. It's looking pretty good.
3 to 4 mil or so, or?
Probably in that ballpark, and the select board will decide tonight. A lot of that will be able to be paid for by LOT money, and there'll be some short-term debt, but something that can be paid off in the 5 to 10 year range. So again, the town has no debt at this point, and we feel our voters tend to like to keep they've showed time and time again they don't like to kind of extend that debt piece. So we're trying to work within those parameters.
With the, again, Sheriff's Department taking over coverage in the town on July 1st, I assume the Sheriff, Roger Longevin, has been meeting with the town?
Yep, he's been at the select board meetings. Those will pick up. We're launching a police advisory committee, which is going to be a citizen oversight. We still have a few openings, so if anyone watching wants to send some applications in next couple days, I'm going to be putting together, folks who are going to be meeting there, so they'll handle a lot of the transition, and then continue to monitor the pieces of the contract and also local policing issues within our community.
And Tim, on the city side, losing the town contract last day, June 30, kind of a downsizing mostly by attrition of city PD going on, or will be going on?
Correct, some consolidation of duties as well. So, and then we've, in conjunction with just the fact that we had to do it, we had the MRI looking at staffing and came up with a recommendation.
Right.
So we'll be following that recommendation. This is, the majority of it is due to the fact that we lost the income from the town contract, so.
Yeah. Again, Morris Momontcalm, the new permanent chief of the city, off to a good start,
Yeah,
as
I
you
think
see
he's
it?
off to a great start, doing a wonderful job. I was on the phone, one of my real job board members called to compliment the police. The situation was his stepson was pulled over for speeding down on the Brigham Road, 30 miles over the speed limit.
Wow.
And it was obvious that there were some mental health issues going on, and they praised the way the officer handled it, called in NCSS. It's that collaboration between the city and NCSS which has paid dividends. And on a number of cases that I'm aware of, and this is just one of those. And the family was very appreciative of how the situation was handled, and so we're making headway in that mental health realm, if you will, being more cognizant of the needs and how to handle them. So this is just one of those examples that has proven to be worthwhile, and the family really appreciated it. So.
And again, the city also has a police advisory committee, or whatever it's specifically called. Is that in place at this point? Or
Yeah,
no?
they met a week ago, this past Friday, I believe it was. That was their first meeting, just pretty much to lay the groundwork and get people's take on where they want to head. And from all indications, the meeting went well, and I haven't heard otherwise. So.
The big downtown project, I went by the apartment buildings across from the library just the other day. They're getting pretty close, are they, to completion? Or is one in fact?
One is completed, and tenants have moved in.
Okay, tenants have moved in.
That's on the Champlain Housing one, and then the other one, as I peer in the windows, as you drive by, it looks like they still have a ways to go on the finish work, but I think the expectation is March on that, if I'm not
Really?
mistaken.
And again, we're talking 60 some odd units or so total?
62, I think it is, total, 30 on the Champlain Housing, and then
Interesting.
32 on the market rate.
And in the old building, there were how many units?
25, I
Okay,
believe.
so at least double that plus.
Yeah, easily doubled. They brought that traffic downtown, so.
Really, it's hopefully some good news for downtown businesses with a bunch more people living right in downtown.
If we can get back to normal, it'll be good.
Interesting. Boy, back to normal. Nice thought.
It keeps getting delayed on us. It keeps getting pushed back further. I did have a quick conversation with Marty Manhan at the city that there was the Arts Council was doing a little bit of a seminar about how you can hold art or music and other activities safely through COVID. So I think Marty was going to sit in on that webinar. I'd like to get to the point where we have some concerts in the park. Maybe start a little bit later, early July or mid-July as compared to mid-June. Follow the guidelines that will be presented in that webinar, and I think people will be pretty good about it. I mean, the park is big enough where you can have that social distancing.
Yeah.
And we'll see where we are in July, but I think Marty's going to go ahead and schedule some acts. It might be 4, it might be 6, but I think that would be key downtown on a summer night. So
Sounds good. At this point, Corey, is there some very early talk about Bay Day happening as usual, or we just wait too early to really get into that?
It's still early, but John Montang and his crew are definitely looking at the possibility. We do a lot, and we're looking to expand really what we do in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Part of keeping Town Hall down there and expanding it is to take that to the next level. Just in the past year, we became a designated village center, and so you're going to see more and more activity. Obviously, COVID could put a damper, but we'll likely host a car show again. We'll look and see what Bay Day can be. Still planning our midweek farmers market. John's got some really exciting plans for our facilities down there, and we'll play them by ear, like Tim said. But I think it'd be the expectation as we return to more of a normal that you'll see more and more activity there.
I think yesterday, again, I walk at the Bay Park just about every day, usually later in the day. I still love the Christmas lights that I'm running across. There was a small tractor out on the beach area, obviously snow covered the other day. What was that tractor doing?
I think they like to test to see if they can turn something into what the ice looks like for
really?
potential skating.
Huh,
Something if we could host for the kids.
Huh.
I remember as a kid, a couple times going down there and skating, and the ice was never that great. But if something we can do to see what that is.
I
So
wish
Alan and his crew's always kind of monitoring.
Yeah, I grew up pond skating in Massachusetts, but I usually get out on the Bay Ice maybe once a year if I'm lucky. But that sounds like a great initiative if you can pull it off.
Yeah.
Any interest in the current in the next couple of years? It'll be the former town hall. Any interest at this point from anybody with the use of that building, your current town hall?
So we haven't been aggressive with it. We've had a few conversations with organizations. There's a nonprofit childcare facility that we've just emailed back and forth a few times, but no concrete conversations. I think the town is going to look for one, we can't get ahead of ourselves. We've got to make sure the voters give us permission to make the move, get the new facility built, and then have a conversation to partner with the redevelopment of that. The city's done such a great job over the last decade of taking properties and repurposing them and finding a tenant for it. So I think we'll be looking to see what our options are there. Shortly after the voters if they give us permission to build a new town hall.
Yeah. And there are two, we touched on it before. One of the articles, will you approve basically a new town? Is there a second article too?
No, I mean, at this point, we're going to keep it pretty light. We understand with COVID, we don't want to go and ask, the stress that, people of St. Albans Town are likely under in our businesses. We don't want to ask for too much. So, I think we're going to keep it pretty narrow to our typical articles on reserve funds and the budget and town hall. Something could change tonight, but, it's fully anticipated by the staff that the town hall will be the only new article on for voters.
Any talk, there's been some loose talk over the years, possibly another satellite fire station on the north end of town. Is that issue still come up once in a while or not? Really?
Yeah, it's something we bat around. Again, it's it's one project at a time. I think we're going to look at what our options are after we get through this and look at what the final costs are and where we are financially. But I could see in the next decade easily that there'll be a conversation with our fire department and what that looks like. Maybe I think a bunch of communities are trying to figure out what volunteer firefighting looks like and all the other issues. And so I think that one's much more than just building a facility, but having a regional conversation about what firefighting looks like, across communities, and then what is that, what do we need for assets at that point?
Right. Tim, with CCV having moved downtown to the new building on North Main Street across from City Hall, any work, again, city police department heading over to the CCV building for a new headquarters? That's still happening? Anything going on with that right now?
They're still in the design phase and permitting, and actually there was a water break down at the immigration building.
Oh, you mentioned that, I think, last show.
And so the Wise Time childcare was flooded as well. That's a part of the building. And we were able to take some of the space in the CCV building and set them up. They were out of business for about a week. But this allowed them the ability to set up and wait for renovations to happen before they move back to that building. So that's not the reason we're waiting. It's just worked out where we're continue to work through the design phase, and the space was available, so they have moved in, and it's worked out beautifully for them. There was 40 families impacted.
Wow.
Would not have had a place for childcare if they couldn't find a space. So that's worked out. So long story short, we're looking at a April timeframe to start doing some demolition and working on the building. So
Would you hope that the city PD would have a new headquarters at the old CCV building, say, by the end of this year? or this year? Is that the hope or not clear?
So we're phasing in the work. The hope is, I think, that they would be definitely in there by the end of the year for this portion of the project. We're going to leave part of the building and then work on that as time comes. So, I just want to jump on something. You talked about skating on the lake, but I think we're going to be hard pressed to have the lake freeze over. I mean, I was down by the lake 2 days ago. I mean, over on Georgia Shore, there's almost no ice.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I get out to Kilcare about every other day. I've been around here for a few decades, and maybe not that I went down there every post-Christmas for a while, but open water, I never recall seeing. There's still, we might have lost it, but within a couple of days ago, it's still a bunch of open water as you look to the southwest from Kilcare. Amazing for
if you drive down Georgia Shore, there's ice probably, I don't know, 100 feet out from shore, and that's it. Everything else is open water.
Yeah, although of course I'm seeing ice. Saw them yesterday. Some people ice fishing on inner St. Albans Bay.
Oh yeah.
But I hear you. Amazing to have open water on the lake at this time. What Railroad Dispatch Center? The folks who are hoping to move to the Fonda Solo site.
Still no movement on that. We continue to do our due diligence on getting the infrastructure into Fonda site. So if it does fall through, we'll be prepared for another opportunity moving forward. There's been a lot of transition at the railroad. It was purchased. Our contact retired. So we need to continue to maintain those relationships and conversations, and and see where that goes.
Right. Corey, the old town public works site is a minute and a half left. Again, talk about possibly another boat launch, boat access there.
So we did a community survey a number of years ago, 2-3 years ago, and that was the most popular option. So I've had initial conversations with the state about some of the issues, and if it's for public access, you don't need a shoreline permit.
Yeah.
So some of the things we're looking to do is to turn that space into a community space in some capacity. Again, the property is just across Wharf Street from the proposed new town hall.
Yeah.
If that goes in, we can build a sidewalk, to the Bay Park and really start to develop what, that area looks like down there. And the most popular option was a boat launch of some sort. So we'll have to get engineering to look at the depth. It may just be a kayak boat launch, but that relieves pressure from Hathaway Point. But, the state's very excited about the potential project. The town, we want to do something that, again, becomes a draw down to the Bay Area for our community, and those plans are probably a year away, but something we'll be working on this summer and fall.
Yeah. Tim, you want the last 10, 15 seconds? A new year.
New year.
New president coming in. Hopefully, a much better year coming up.
We hope so, yes, Richard. But we have snow now. Hardeck has been open for sliding. Hopefully, the skiing will take place here soon. Just watch the rec website or Facebook page for those details.
Very good. Many thanks to St. Albans Mayor Tim Smith and Senator Corey Parent, the Director of Operations for St. Albans Town, and our key guy, Roger, the producer. I'm Richard Cowperthwait. See you next time. Thanks.